Hey, true creators. Want a crosshair that actually locks in and zooms in like a pro? Well, you're in the right place. Let's go ahead and build this together. Okay, so to start out with, let's just go ahead in this 5.5 third person project. Let's open it up. And what we want to do is go into the third person, go into blueprints, and we'll build our logic from here. So let's start by collecting the right button. And we're going to go to user interface. And then finally, we're going to go to the widget blueprint. We're going to use just a regular default user widget. Right here, we can call it W underscore menu UI and enter. And then from that point, what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and double click it. And while we're here, just do a Control Shift S to save. Now, we're going to need to build some things here. So let's start with the canvas. Okay, so we're going to add the canvas panel first. Next, we're going to need an image. So we're going to type in the word image, and we're going to grab this and drag and drop this onto the canvas. Now, for this image, we're just going to drag it from here in the middle and just put it as close as we can to the middle. And we're going to make our crosshair. That's what this image is going to be for, like so. Do a compile and a save. Now, while we're still on the image, we're going to go over here to appearance where the brush is, and we're going to click here, and we're going to search for, it's a particular one I like. It's called target pointer, I believe. Target pointer. Target point, this one. Yeah, so this one looks pretty good. We can do a compile and a save, and just make sure we get this as close to the middle as we can, okay? Now, right here, while we got this image here, we're going to make sure we're going to center it, anchor it in the middle. So that way, no matter what you're on, you'll always have this image here in the middle, okay? And you see here, I did it pretty good. So like so. So I can make it a little bit bigger. Make it line up. There we go. Compile and save. Now, the other thing is, by default, we don't want this showing up all the time, so we're just going to go ahead and set the visibility, okay? So what we want to do is type in visibility while you still got the image selected, and we're going to set this at default to be hidden, okay? And we can do a compile and a save. Now, while we're here, let's go ahead and move over to the graph. We can go ahead and delete all this in the graph here. We won't need that. What we will need, though, is we're going to need to, well, let's actually, you know what? Let's go back to the designer, right? While the image is selected, we're just going to name this crosshair. Okay? And then that way, and it's a variable, just do a compile and a save. This is just to make it easier for you. And back to our graph. Now, what we want to do is we want to take the crosshair, we're going to drag it out right here, get the crosshair, and we're going to do a set visibility, and we want the widget, not this behavior thing. We want this one, okay? And what we can do is, while that's highlighted, do a Control D, and that'll allow you to duplicate it, and we want to make sure we're targeting the crosshair, okay? Now, make sure we do everything nice and neat. And right here, the next thing we want to do is we want to set this bottom one to hidden, because when we activate this, it'll basically allow us to make it visible or not visible. So now we're going to need two custom events. So just type in the word CUST and enter. And then for this, we just want to type in show crosshair, right? Okay, like so. And we can connect that up. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing again. So we're going to just type in cust and enter. And then we're going to do, you guessed it, hide crosshair. Okay? And we want to make sure that's hooked up as well. Keep our code nice and neat. Do a compile and a save. Okay, now for this next part, we're going to go ahead and go back to our content folder. We're going to open up our third person character, right? And inside this third person character, we're going to select the viewport. And what we want to do here is we're going to click on this add button here, and we're just going to type in the word camera. Okay, and we're just gonna get the regular camera. Now for this camera, what we wanna do is we wanna have it put on to the mesh. See how that little checkbox is there? Like that, okay? And right here, I'm gonna undock this by right clicking and doing an undock so we can see the details. And what we wanna do, let's see, while we got this camera highlighted, let me see if this helps. Yeah, we can zero it out, that's fine. Okay, and then what we wanna do is we wanna select a parent socket. So for this instance, we're gonna choose the head, which is right here, okay? Now, as you can tell, it's a little bit off. Remember, you can use your mouse scroll to, slow down so it's not so fast. But right here, we need to change this. We can do a compile and save first. And we need to adjust this. Now, we're gonna need to do the rotation here. So this is the rotation up here. So we can uncheck that, right? And let's see, we need to switch the widget. So while we got the camera selected, let's see, if you hit the widgets up here, you could do the rotate widget. You can drag this like this, and we can rotate it like this. Let's see, there we go. Now this is important because you wanna make sure the eyepiece lines up the same way as that one, right? So that looks pretty good. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we can go ahead and we can hit the W key, and that's another way we could use the shortcut. And we can take off the snapping too, so we can move that right here. Let's see, it's right here, I believe. Yeah. Okay, and then while we're here, while we got this camera highlighted, we're gonna type in the word yaw. We're gonna type in pawn. Yeah, we're gonna use the pawn controller rotation, so let's just go ahead and check that real quick. And then we'll do a compile and a save. Okay, and while we're here, okay, we can X that out. And what we can do is we can change this, instead of just calling it camera, we can just change the variable name and just call it first camera. Okay, compile, save. All right, let's go ahead and go to the event graph. Okay, so while we're here, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna right click and we're gonna do an event begin play, okay? And then right here, we're gonna right click and we're gonna do a create widget. This one right here, this user interface. Connect that up. And then right here, we're gonna select menu UI, which is the one that we created up here. We could do a compile and save. Now, right here, we're just gonna drag off of here and we're gonna promote this variable and we're gonna call it widget. Let's call it widget. Well, let me spell it correctly. We'll just call this widget reference. Do a compile and a save. Now, right here, we're gonna right click and we're gonna type in add to viewport. Sorry, gotta drag off of here. Add to viewport. So yeah, you gotta drag off here to get that add to viewport. And then right here, that'll add the widget, okay? So let's just go ahead and we're just gonna call this, widget creation, okay? Compile, save. Okay, so I'm gonna drag this up a little bit. Or actually, we can put it down. Here, we can put it down here, right above our other logic. And we're gonna go up here and we're gonna make some more logic. So let's go ahead and do a right click and we're gonna do a right mouse button because we're gonna use the right mouse button to activate our particular widget here. And we're just gonna grab the variables right off the side here. So go compile and save. Make sure you compile and save many times because sometimes projects can stop working. So, all right, let's go ahead and grab the first camera. Let's also grab the follow camera, right? And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna set active. So we're gonna drag off of here. We're gonna say set active, right? Here. And while we got that highlighted, let's just go ahead and do a Control D to duplicate that, okay? And then what we can do is we can go ahead and hook these up. And let's go ahead and do a left click and drag here. And we're gonna do we're gonna put the mouse cursor over here. While those two are highlighted, do a Control D, and that'll also allow you to duplicate that as well. Hook up the targets, because we're targeting something different, okay? So let's go ahead and move this around. Yeah, like I said, get in the practice of making neat code, because it's important when you're troubleshooting to do all this, right? Okay, so while we're here, we're going to need to check two boxes. So we're gonna check this as new active, and then down here, this is new active. Because all we're doing is we're basically, upon pressing, we're flipping to the first person camera, and upon the release, we're going to the third person. That's all that's happening here. So, yes. All right, moving on. So for this next part here, we're gonna get something called use controller, let's see, rotation, I wanna say. Yes, we wanna do a set, okay? And we can go ahead and we can duplicate that as well. And just go ahead and we'll hook these up. Okay. And then we're gonna set this top one. We wanna use when we're in that first person, when we press it down, we wanna use this rotation, okay? Now, we're gonna need that menu reference right here, this widget reference. We're gonna drag that and we're gonna get it here. And then what we're gonna do is we're going to do a show crosshair. Remember when we created that event? So when that happens, when we zoom in on it, whatever, we're going to show our crosshair. And then we're gonna just go ahead and do we're gonna drag off of here and do a hide crosshair, like so. And that should do it right there, okay? And while we're here, let's just go ahead and we'll drag this over. You don't have to do this, but we can go ahead and hit the C button, and we could say crosshair logic. Let's go ahead and give it a little chat bubble and make it orange. Why not? Okay? Just something extra. So let's go ahead and do a compile and a save. Okay, so let's go ahead and check and test out our logic. So let's go to third person. Let's go ahead and hit play. I'm just gonna hit F11 for the hell of it. Let's see. Just to give it full screen, and right here, you can see right click holds that and you zoom in. And when you move side to side, same thing. And like I said, that's your zoom in crosshair. So like if you look over there, see how far it is, boom, now it's closer, okay? I hope you found that useful. Nice, you completed the video. Let's see what you can do with the next one. Let's go.